Welcome to Muddy River News this week. I'm Bob Gough. Michele McCormack is a veteran journalist. She's also the latest member of the Muddy River News team. Welcome.
Hello, boss.
Well, I'm just glad you're still calling me that, not calling me something worse because of your first week and me not exactly letting you sit on your hands.
That's all right. I enjoyed jumping right in. That's what I came to do, tell people stories.
You came in and you got here on a Friday, and then Saturday we had a story break, and then Monday happened. We had to follow up on the story, and then we had a school board meeting, and who said this was a sleepy little river town, right?
No, I never did. And by the way, I hope this doesn't take too much time because I have a lot of quotes I'm gathering right now as we speak, but I accept that if I'm going to ask people to do interviews and appear on camera to share their stories, I should be able to do the same thing. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
I'm also in charge of your workflow, too. So let's remember that. No, but again, so you are a familiar face to people here because you did work at WGEM in the early to mid 1990s. What was your role there?
It was actually the early 90s. I came in to help Channel 10 launch its 24-hour news operation. You know, there was a time, hard to imagine, that they played the national anthem after the late news, and that was it. It was maybe color bars. But WGEM went 24 hours, so I was the photographer overnight, the editor and the producer of the morning news show. And for some reason, we could not find an anchor. So since I could put a couple of sentences together, they decided to also have me anchor.
So that would mean in the spring of 1991 or summer. When did you arrive in 91?
I don't remember. It's too long ago,
Bob.
Bob.
That meant, though, what that meant was at that time, you and I were direct competitors.
That is correct.
Because I was the anchor of the Channel 7 morning show along with Sarah Dyan.
Yeah, I heard what you said about me back then. No, let's go there, right? I mean, this is Muddy River News. We can go
wow.
there. Okay, what people may not realize is that at WGEM at the time, the newsroom was actually in the basement, where all newsrooms are usually, and you had to go up a spiral staircase to go to the studio. And I would get a little involved in my copy and not realize, oh no, I've got to do an update. And one time I did an update and had very little air to deliver it. And Tammy O'Neill, who was my weathercaster at the time, said, Bob Gough just said that's the worst update he's ever seen in his life.
I don't think I said worst. I think
you said worst. No.
And I think I also said you've been taking lessons from Steve Luton. Because Steve used to do that thing, too, where he'd have his scripts at the last minute and run and do that.
Well, you know, if it was a straight shot up, it would have been one thing. But it was a spiral staircase, folks. It wasn't easy.
My worst memories of those were having to deal with that was the weather equipment because I was also the morning weather guy.
Oh, wow.
And I hated that because when I started there, I did the weather and sports on the weekends, and then they wanted to start the morning show. But then I still did weather since I had done it on the weekends. And those, I mean, these were some old computers, and they took forever to load, and it was awful. So
yeah, for me it was 3/4-inch deck equipment, so you had a separate big heavy box, 2 cables, one for audio and one for video with the camera on your shoulder. And remember, these are the days when peplum jackets were in and big shoulder pads. Late 80s fashion in the early 90s. That's what I brought Quincy News back in the day. And I remember Ralph Oakley going one time, well, I don't know if you're wearing the equipment or the equipment's wearing you.
Well, also, I think the one thing the one thing that you heard, I said the other thing that I said the first time I saw you on camera, I was like, wow, she's really good because you were good then and you were very good. And then my co-anchor, when I was watching you and said, wow, I guess I said it in a way where she was like, what the heck, and she punched me.
You're joking.
Nope.
I can't believe that of anyone who does news in Quincy. We were, a competitive bunch to get the story right. I think an amicable bunch in relating to what each other was going through. I mean,
we ran into each other all the time because it's a small town, and of course we were all, we all kind of had to cover the flood together, and that's where you really kind of, made your bones, for lack of a better phrase, and you had the interview with James Scott, and that was something that I certainly remember to this day, and a lot of people here do remember it because it was a big deal, and then he ended up getting convicted, and he's still in prison.
Yeah, I never was part of the trial or any of the aftermath. I had accepted a position in Wichita, Kansas, actually before June of 1993. Actually stayed beyond my contract to try and finish up some of the coverage. What I think was important, and what we try to do at Muddy River News with the James Scott interview, is air it in its entirety without editing.
Yeah.
People want to hear directly from the source with as little journalistic interference as possible. And so that's always been something I've aspired to retain as I moved up throughout the industry and traveled all over the country pursuing broadcast journalism. And to me, though, the most important story of the flood of '93 for me, I don't know why I'm getting filled up thinking about it, was when the Snai levee broke.
Yeah.
And the men were trapped in the treetops and on the bulldozer, and these two guys from Chicago, National Guards members, one piloting the helicopter, the other riding the skid, that bar of the helicopter, and plucking those men by the belt.
Yeah.
And, you know, that kind of bravery, you know, to me, that's the real story of '93, the heroics of all the volunteers involved.
No, I mean, the coverage was great. What they did, their efforts, everybody's efforts they used to fight the flood, whether it was the Snai or Meyer or Fabius, it's something that will always live in for all of us who had to live through it.
Children, adults alike.
Yeah, little kids filling sandbags.
Grandmas, grandpas doing their part. People helping in any way they could. It was an honor and privilege to witness that, let alone share that with the world.
So when you and I were discussing you coming aboard, you were still contemplating and looking maybe working for corporate media still. And I hope I did a good job of convincing you that while we don't have all the bells and whistles of corporate media, we still have the same goals to do good journalism.
Well, you know, going back to the technology, back in the day compared to what it is now, you don't need all that equipment. It's very self-contained and get up and go. So the accoutrements of corporate media aren't necessary to do the job. And I even think the more you are free of that, and when it's content over personality, content over imagery and special effects, I feel that it is a quicker way to build trust among viewers. I think viewers really do want to hear directly from the source. It doesn't mean that journalists don't have a role. Somebody has to answer the questions, somebody has to make sure the microphone's working, the camera's working, that it gets out on YouTube, that it gets out on the website. But it doesn't have to be where the reporter interjects themselves into the story, which was sometimes the requirement as I continued to travel around and look for meaning in life, all right? So I went, after Quincy, I went to Wichita, I went to Kansas City, Missouri, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Very honored, though. I mean, I was on the front lines of the recount in Florida in 2000. You know, we started in Tallahassee, West Palm, Miami, back to Tallahassee. I was very honored to do that. Honored to cover the Columbia shuttle disaster in Nacogdoches, Texas, to see how, again, salt of the earth people protected that debris, knowing that it was sacred because lives had been lost. You know, to witness that, to report on that was an honor and a blessing. Here I go again, to be in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And to see the families of the heroes of Flight 93 arrive and see the place where they lost their loved ones, but where the American fight against terrorism first began. Again, an honor and a blessing. But inevitably, what happens with television news, something about being on camera creates a barrier to meaningful relationships. The relationships become transactional. And then with the challenges on resources, it gets more and more difficult to cover things in depth, which is necessary to present context as opposed to having a great soundbite to get somebody to stop and watch your program, or click on your Facebook post. I actually left broadcasting in 2018. I entered nonprofit fund development. I'm of Irish descent, so hunger relief is an issue that matters to me. And I had sheer joy in being a fundraiser for a food bank, which also had a farm. So it wasn't just canned donations, it was fresh produce so you could improve nutrition while fighting hunger. But the COVID pandemic came. Sure. And so I had to find other work, but what had happened, I had changed. Issues of respect and dignity that are part of your everyday routine, accountability, forgiveness in the nonprofit world, you know, admit your mistake, fail fast, move on, don't let it happen again, be transparent. All those things, I loved that work. It was some of the most meaningful, satisfying work I did, but I had to return to broadcasting, and what happened is I returned to broadcasting, but I was a different person. And it was right about the time you were starting Muddy River News, and I have to admit with some envy, I was like, oh, there he is, he did it. He's making his own way. He's going to be the defender of journalism after all. Wow.
God help us all.
How lucky. How lucky. I've always felt that Muddy River News was ahead of the curve. And you just wait for the opportunities in life, and who would have known that the door opened at the time it did. So thank you.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. And again, I can't tell you how happy we are to have you aboard. Last question here before you have to get back to work.
Oh, thank goodness.
Because you do have a lot of work to do.
I'm so glad it's the last question.
Quincy, in Quincy in 30 years, how's it changed, and what do you like, and is it like you're putting on a comfortable pair of shoes?
Well, people really know how to cook down here. You know, 8-1, that Coach Douglas is to die for. Oh my gosh. That,
8 Open. 8 Open.
Oh, 8
They're
Open, that's what it's called.
Right,
8 Open, that Coach Douglas, I mean, boy, everybody knows their way around a fryer down here, and I really like it. It could be my demise. The Abbey, boy, the pork chops, I think they come from just about a mile away.
Yeah.
But, you know, to eat at the patio where my father and I would meet when I first started here. Cool. And in January, he suffered a really bad medical setback. And it's been difficult because he doesn't remember a lot or even able to say my name. And I went there for Sunday brunch and had the French dip on the brioche bun and thought about my father.
That's
and
awesome.
It was nice to have that sense of comfort that comes with home, even though it's not my home. I'm just trying to find a place where, you know, I can be myself, and I'm hoping this is it. I'm thinking this is it.
I know it's it. 'Cause that's what we all do. That it's like that. We are. I've jokingly called us the island of misfit toys sometimes, but I really think that this is a special place, and we have a lot of great people here, and I think we all strive for the common goal.
You know, but a perfect example. While I was moving my stuff out in Wisconsin, I had a fellow apartment dweller complain that I was messing up the lobby as I was moving out. And then when I was moving in here in Quincy, I had everybody help me out, figure out how to get the couch in the elevator. And that's a stark contrast too. And I think these are signs from God. I do believe in a higher power that you will find your way. And I think I have found my way, but it's just the beginning. If I screw up, I don't know. It could be over soon. Again, though, that is the beauty of digital journalism, that if a journalist makes honest mistakes, we can correct it instantly. Yep. And I think here at MRN there is the spirit of collaboration, transparency, and understanding that allows us to truly be honest, take accountability with each other, learn about it, move forward. And I just think it's of great benefit, because people have to work 2 jobs or take care of their kids. They can't be at all the meetings. Yeah. So that's why we're here. And I also am a videographer, though. I am a person who works behind the scenes, and I have plans for stories of human interest that showcase the beauty of the community. So I'm looking forward to share that as well.
Welcome home.
Thank you so much, Bob. I'm sorry for crying. This is why I don't like to do interviews.
Just get back to work, okay?
Okay.
Right. Hey, that's all the time we have for this week. I'm Bob Gough. We'll see you next time.